Yeah, this might be one where you want to do what Jimmy Butler does. He bets on himself and he bets on his team. I would
Every
not be
time.
shocked if they found a way, if the Heat found a way to win game one. But you want to know what was shocking to me? And listen, Jarvis, when I read articles like this, I can remind our ATL day oneers, our everydayers, that I'm not a fan, right? I cover
Mm-hmm.
the team, I cover the Falcons. The Steelers are my heart and soul. However, there are certain things that I will say are offensive and head scratchers, even as an objective member of the media. And when you look at ranking the best and worst 2023 NFL off seasons and which teams, did it well or didn't do it well, and you have the audacity and unmitigated gall to call the Falcons out at 26 out of 32 teams. So you're basically saying, ESPN writer, that only 6 teams had a worse offseason than the Falcons. I need to understand that. Now, I'll give you some pieces to that, Jarvis, so you can
Mm-hmm.
react with a little bit of knowledge, right? And even our
Right.
everydayers, if you guys want to drop some comments in the comment section like you always do when you watch us on YouTube, do that. Or even when you're downloading the podcast and you guys want to DM us, you see our Twitter handles right there. Let us know your thoughts. Now, here's what they say went right, Jarvis. The Falcons used their newfound cap space to address the defense. They have fielded an above average defense just once over the past decade. They've ranked 30th in the league in each of Arthur Smith's first 2 seasons as coach, in part because of the cap restraints. So they go on to say, good look, Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, etc. What went
Mm-hmm.
wrong? Is this a long-term solution? Bates is great, but can you say that about anybody else? Campbell's 36, Onyemata and Dupree, 30. Dupree missed some or all of his 15 games, the couple seasons that he was in Tennessee. So that's what they're predicating this on, along with question marks around Ritter and whether or not Taylor Heineke is the appropriate backup should he have to get it done for the Falcons. And then they say what's left to do. And, they go on to talk about working deals with the likes of AJ Terrell. To me, that's
Mm.
asinine. I don't
Right.
see why that's a part of this conversation
Yeah.
because
As a negative, like, what are we talking
exactly.
about?
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. Like this dude, fifth year option pickup, not even a conversation, going after him with all guns blazing. I believe that's going to happen. He's earned his keep. I just saw something, Jarvis, I forgot to share with you. But for example, Pro Football Focus dropped some stats, and the guys to watch include AJ Terrell, Drake London as well. So my thing is, miss me with that piece of it, but I got to get your reaction, Jarvis, on why, for me, it was the what went wrong.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
where do you start?
where do we start? First of all, I'm going to say his damn name, Bill Barnwell. So, so listen up, player. When you start talking about ranking off seasons, right? What are off seasons all about? Filling needs.
Yeah.
Feeling needs. How you feel those needs, that's up to you. And we even talked about it too, T. Because, hey, we were all defense and everything like that when
Yeah.
it comes to the NFL draft. We were all talking about how, hey, they need to go after this guy. They need to go after this guy. And we were solely focused on the defense because we felt like the offense was in a good space. And then when you start to gather everything around, you start seeing what the Falcons were doing. It was like, okay, maybe I would like to have a younger guy in that defensive end spot
Sure.
/ edge spot, but you are feeling what a need for this year because at the
Yes.
end of the day, like we can't look towards the future because we don't know if Desmond Ritter going to be the quarterback of the future. So hey, they are trying to get into the playoffs. That's what their goal is, and that's what they're working towards when they're making all of these moves. So,
Yes.
but I think one thing that I noticed in this article, T, because your boy had to go all the way through this thing. I was like, why is this dude so anti? And I found it out. He didn't like the Bijan Robinson
Yeah, he
pick,
liked the
T.
pick. That's right.
He did not like that pick. And I get it. Because guess what? I didn't like the pick. You know what I'm saying? But I've come to the conclusion now that I like the person. And all
Yes.
he has to do is perform, and I'll be cool, right? As long
Yes.
as he performs and be the guy that everybody thinks he's going to be in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with that. However, like I think Bill Barnwell needs to understand, like all they had to do was go out and get this defense right. They got a new system coming in with Ryan Nielsen. They got an experienced assistant coach to help out the back end of their defense. And Jerry Gray, who Tenitra is going to talk to, by the way, tomorrow. So, we're going to have that exclusivity right here just for you. It's just for you. That's all we do this thing for. It's for you all. So, Bill need to understand that, the Falcons did exactly what they were supposed to do. They filled needs. They got the guard that they needed because we were tired of that whole round robin of situations going on there. And they got Bergeron right there. They got in, added another weapon on offense. So they surrounded Desmond Ritter with all the weapons. So guess what? At the end of this year, we'll know exactly where Desmond Ritter stands and what his status will be going forward for this team.
I agree. And when you look around the entire league, the last several years have shown you the success that you have with a win now mentality if you pick the right players and they're able to peak in certain spaces, right? So
Right.
I'm thinking about Von Miller going to the Rams. And I'm thinking about Ndamukong Suh going to the Bucks and Tom Brady going to the Bucks. The teams that have been winning outside of maybe the Kansas City Chiefs, they are probably the team that's been winning with youth, right? But
Yeah.
everyone else kind of has leaned in the
The
direction.
Eagles, like another prime example.
Yeah, right. So I'm like,
yeah.
the teams that have leaned into, let me get the veteran, let me get one more or two more good years out of a future Hall of Famer or a borderline Hall of Famer in order to get us to the big game or to actually win it. That's a formula that's worked the last few years. So why wouldn't the Falcons try to do the same to pick up the likes of Calais Campbell and even him throwing out, David Onyemata and being 30 or whatever? I mean, 30 is still a lot of years left in the tank. So I felt like that was a bit of a stretch to kind of say,
We're not talking about a running back here.
No, that's what I was going to say as well. We're talking about a guy on defense here. We're not talking, like you said, we're talking about a nose tackle at the end of the day. I'm going to just go with that guy has a little bit more tread on the tire than if we were talking about, say, now if he had mentioned Cordero Patterson, okay, I give you that.
That's
absolutely.
Yep.
But the fact that you mentioned Onyemata and Bud Dupree, tell me that David Onyemata, you're looking to see if he's going to give you as much productivity as he has the past couple of seasons, because it was like a spike, if you will, relative to where else he was. Tell me with Bud Dupree, and he did mention the injuries, but lead with that. Don't lead with the age, because again, the template is set. If you're not Kansas City or you're not Philadelphia, every other team around this league, even the Bills, think about it, everybody, the Ravens, all of these teams that are trying to go after it, get after it, they're looking at the guy who has 1, 2, maybe 3 more years of good, if not greatness, left in the tank and saying, I'm in win now mode. So that's why I think for me, that article kind of made me feel some type of way, because I simply didn't feel like it was based on enough for the Falcons to be in the bottom quarter of teams and their moves in the off season. Even if he had them in the top half, Jarvis, I might scratch my head, but I might go, okay, I'll give you that, because all of this is still on paper. But by all accounts, including yours and mine, people who, watch this team and cover this team every day, our accounts would say at least the top third.
Yeah. Like top 12, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I will put them up in that category, because I think that when you think about, like you said, filling needs offseason, that's what it's all about, right? Yes. And then once the pads come on in the summertime, this summer, you'll understand how it all's going to come together, if it's going to come together. And to be honest with you, like, let's keep it funky here. Like, we all know, we covered this team for quite some time, and we understand why there is, there was a reason why we felt like the Falcons should have gone defense, right? But
yes.
Hey, the doggone head coach is the offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? He's an offensive minded guy, and they've drafted 3 pass catchers in the last 3 drafts since they've been here as a regime. So guess what? If they want to stack the deck on offense, I don't care. All they got to do is just go out and execute. And I feel like Arthur Smith can do that. So, when you're playing with a lead, we've seen this movie before, right? We've seen it work. We've seen it to the tune of getting to a Super Bowl and being on the brink of, before all that stuff happened. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to bring that up because, I get a little emotional when I start talking about that type of stuff. But I think right now, you have to look at it from a standpoint of the Falcons filled their needs and they stacked the deck on offense. And if you're stacking the deck on offense, as long as you execute, I'm cool.
Yeah, same here. I think that that's going to be the telltale. And remember, the Eagles and the Chiefs were kind of juxtaposed, but so I'm going to take the Eagles out of my comment for a second. But if you look at the Chiefs, you still see a team in the Chiefs that has always had a solid defense.
Yeah,
and
they got guys
they
who can
do.
get home.
There,
Chris
there it
Jones,
is.
one of them.
There it is. They've always had a solid defense, but you have
There
a
you go.
Houston or a Jones who's always, they've always had that one guy, right?
Yeah.
Who could affect just enough. And the rest of that defense was, brought along for the rider. Sometimes it was Tyrann Mathieu. Sometimes,
Yeah.
it was, yeah. So they've always had, so to me, if that's the blueprint that the Falcons are somewhat going after, like they have solid guys, right? But anybody could be the guy now that they put this together. It could be AJ Terrell again. It can be Grady Jarrett again. To me, that's a good formula for success. So yeah, when I saw that, I thought, oh, I got to share this with Jarvis because 26 to me just seemed a little bit narrow, seemed a little narrow-minded on the thought process around it. And again, simply because when I saw the rationale, I said, yeah, that's just, I can't make that math make sense. So, but anyway, if the math makes sense to you, everydayers, let it be known. Tell us in the comments when you check us out on YouTube. And don't forget, wherever you are in and around the city, you want to drop this podcast, go ahead and download it because we're a cool listen all up and down the A. Appreciate you guys for that support as always.